The year 1941 saw Canada's declaration of war against Japan in World War II. The same year also saw the internment of thousands of Canadians of Japanese descent into prison camps under the assumption by the Canadian government that their loyalties lied with the Japanese Empire, regardless of whether they were immigrants or born in Canada. These actions were made possible by two factors. First, the War Measures Act passed by the Canadian government in 1914. This gave the government power to violate the rights of Canadian citizens in an emergency. The second factor was a history of racism and distrust for Japanese immigrants in Canada, made evident by events such as the anti-Asian riots of the Asiatic Exclusion League in British Columbia. The government had even made efforts to restrict Japanese immigration through the Lamu-Hayashi Agreement in 1908. In other words, anti-Japanese sentiment was alive and strong long before World War II. However, this discrimination peaked in 1941. Around 22,000 Canadian citizens of Japanese descent were stripped of their occupations, property, and freedom. Their fishing ships, which made up the bulk of Japanese-Canadian industry, were confiscated and auctioned off. Their homes were sold against their will and at a much lower value. They were forced to carry registration cards, obey curfews, and live in government-controlled camps. Many were deported, either to inland Canada or to Japan itself. Many were prohibited from returning until long after the war had ended. The internment of Japanese Canadians challenges the historical narrative of Canada's benevolent multiculturalism and warns Canadians that the rights of citizenship can always be taken away.